And yeah, that's I've seen a lot of builds of late game Magmar not running Flash. Like Flash, another card, hard to say exactly how good it is. But I really specifically like that play that just happened. And I got really fortunate that those were just the 3 cards I fell into. I mean, I had their Fractal and I fell into the other 2, but there's other games where since you're dragging the game out, you will hold those cards and you will get to that point. So that's probably my favorite play with Flash. That or turn 1 Flash Silhouette Tracer is it just feels so good. It just all of that mana stuff in the middle. You're just like, forget about that. Let's fight like men.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Silhouette Tracer, I think pretty underrated from like as an early play because most people save it as like an out, but really it's like if you if like it's a good body, like a 2/6 early is like really hard to deal with. Like it's out of range of a lot of the stuff that they can trade into it, or if they spend a lot of resources, which usually you don't want to do that early.
Right, and even if you flash into play, it's a 2/4. It reminds me of Twilight. Twilight being like not necessarily the most exciting card, but if you turn 1 Flash into play, it's a 3/4 that puts Flash back in your hands, which is not a bad tempo play. Actually, I probably don't have that in my deck, but maybe I should, because it seems exciting.
You're talking to the wrong dude. I mean, I love Twilight Sorcerer. It's like I actually really love. I mean, along with Lore Master, it's like I think its body, even just like as a raw like 4 cost drop, is actually pretty decent too.
Oh, absolutely. I think the reason I don't love Twilight Sorcerer as much is because I wish I had control over what I got back. And I feel like most of the time in a deck that you have those big spells that you would love to see an extra time, you're really going to want to be playing a lot of other spells too, so you're not going to have quite as much control. I haven't actually played with it much in Songhai, and I could totally see in Songhai where all of your spells kind of like come together to form the mold that is the destruction of your opponent. I could see it not really mattering what spell you get back, like, oh no, Saber Sign, like Inner Focus, Phoenix Fire, Spiral Technique, I'll get over it, Yeah. None of those sound like bad things get back. Whereas like if you take this, if you take this and if I play him and I get like a Dampening Wave, or
yeah, you're like womp womp.
Or a Flashy Incarnation early, or as you can see a lot of times when the board is even or I'm ahead, I'm not holding a mana burn. Like none of those are really exciting. I don't think I saw any Plasma Storms that game, which is honestly fine, but they're there.
Yeah, I think for Songhai, the reason I like it is like if like Songhai's like 4 drops are like not the greatest. Like there's like a few good ones in there, but like Twin Strike isn't super exciting. 4 Winds Magi, like I never feel like I feel like he's always gonna die when I play him, and I'm never gonna get to like really combo out and get use out of it. Like I'd rather just play like Bloodleech Match, which is gonna do the like 1 damage and heal me. Petri Fanblade is actually a card I do play, which is pretty good.
Oh, I love Fanblade. I just feel like Fanblade is less like I need to curve out into 4 drops and more like my opponent's at a point where they have enough cards and enough cores that if I let them do something nasty, like if you play, I've played, what was it, back when, I think it was when Deceptical was playing Lionar, it was like as soon as he had enough for Bond Lion, I had one game where like 2 turns in a row there were Fanblades, and it just like really keeps him off that lethal, which is pretty important.
Yeah, and then I think the other one is what's the other card? Widowmaker, yeah, because like I guess like yeah. I mean the problem with him is like most of the damage you're gonna do with range units in Songhai is just like off of like basically Saber Spine sealing them or Death Strike sealing them, and at that point like Heartseeker's just better. It's just like a cheaper version to throw out there that's not as much of a risk of like core like commitment, right? I mean, and I think that Widowmaker only survives like a little bit better out of a few things, but 3 is usually killable.
3 at 4 core is like it feels very squishy. It's not necessarily the most squishy, but it feels like you're not getting like a beefy dude. Yeah. Which I think is the problem. He needs to be far enough away to get out of the fight without like while still living at 3 HP. If he's sort of like near the fight, he might not make it. Ranged units in general, I definitely think I think actually my Makes No Sense deck, I think it actually has 3 Veil Hunters, and there are games where like War Surge or easily Lionheart Blessing on a Veil Hunter is enough to take the game, but it's not. I feel like the value comes from like a cheap ranged unit, it feels like. I was actually I always try different things. I had before the flash changes, and obviously it doesn't work great now, but I basically had a deck where I just flashed in ranged units, because ranged units are like, if you can keep them alive and you're ahead, they're insufferable. I mean, like they just completely control the board. And I had a deck where sometimes I'd go second and I'd just be like, flash Rogue Warden, go. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes it was like you flash in a couple ranged units, and then you put the old amplify on them as well. It was kind of like the end of the game really early. Not reliable, but when it went off, it was really powerful. Like definitely not like a top tier deck, even though I'm saying like steals the whole game in 2 turns. But when it did go off, it was pretty powerful. And like, yeah, I guess that deck doesn't exist anymore. I'm never too. You're never gonna catch me being like sad that something I used to play doesn't exist anymore, because I think in general the game's always changing for the better, and just change is exciting. It's fun to see things like I keep eyeing this what is it? This Mistwalking.
Yeah.
Keep looking at this and wanting to build like the Mistwalking deck. But I'm not sure yet. It's definitely on my to-do list, but I'm sure the first few iterations will be suboptimal. So
yeah, definitely a card that needed some love for like a long time. But anyways, with that, like, I mean, good stuff, man.